Never afford your ignorance the opportunity to deny you teachable moments, especially in the profession.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have a guest today and her name is Kamogelo Khatle. Is that correct, friend?
Khatle.
Khatle. Yo guys, I'm so bad with my Sepedi Sutu and all of that. So in this video, we are talking about her area of speciality or area of practice. And I'm just gonna introduce her and tell you a bit about her. I don't want her to do an intro herself for a very important reason because she needs to understand the impact that she has on people. Kamu is this joyous person. Like she comes into a room and it just brightens up, and she's always so positive. I'm not sure if she's even aware of that. Like I'm gonna call her panicking about something, and she'll be like, "But friend, look at it like this. You're almost done." So that's the one thing about Kamu. From the first time I met her at Wits, it was always she's such a joyous person. Apart from that, guys, like this girl is a businesswoman. She runs a gifting and events business called Chosen for You. We will put on the link below. And now, the most important part is that she holds a BA law degree, an LLB degree, and she is a LLM candidate at UCT. Welcome, friend.
Thank you for having me. Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought I should just start. Yesterday, I saw a friend of mine posting about the people who inspire her, and she was just like, I draw so much from my mom, and that's the inspiration that I have because I understand how she has worked through challenges that she's faced and the integrity that she has maintained through them. And I thought one of the reasons why this channel was started was because I wanted to have people I know that I draw inspiration from. Because we have this notion of inspiration will be somebody from overseas or somebody you've never met, somebody's life story that you have no idea about. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have this platform. So, friend, firstly, tell us, who do you look up to?
Oh, who do I look up to? I believe in looking up to anyone. I like to look up to people who I can see physically. There are a lot of things about people that we don't know. So for me, I look up to my parents, my mother, my father, and my sister a lot. They are the center of my life. Absolutely.
That's beautiful. That's so
I
beautiful.
look up to them in every way.
Yeah, that's beautiful, friend. That's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Why?
I'm inspired by my parents a lot because the way in which they live their life, how they conduct themselves, the way in which they treat people, it's very exemplary. And you're able to learn from that in many ways. When somebody lives out their teachings, it's easier for you to pick those teachings up and to live them out in your life.
That's so deep.
So that's literally why I look up to them, because I see the way in which they live and I want that for myself because it's working and it's working really well for them. So yeah.
I love the part about them being exemplary, because children do not listen to what you say, they do what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Friend, at Wits, when you were a law student and chose your electives in final year,
Yes.
did you know or did you imagine that you would be in this area of specializing that you're currently practicing in?
I had hoped so.
Okay.
I had hoped so. When I chose my electives, I was actually influenced not to take the hard subjects. Hard subjects being maybe tax, competition. I was told not to take them. And for me, that challenged me because I said, how can I stand out? If everyone's going to be taking the easy subjects, in an interview, they're going to ask me what makes you different. So it was important for me to take the hard subjects, knowing that if I get an interview, that could set me apart. So I hope I've answered your question in some way.
Yeah, you have. So what is it that you specialize in or currently practicing?
So I'm in commercial law. I'm at a commercial law firm, corporate commercial law firm, and in my department right now, we do a lot of commercial work. And when I say commercial, I mean drafting of contracts, reviewing agreements. You look at the drafting of policy regulations. I do a lot of litigation. It's very litigation driven. Litigation means that we're going to court, drafting pleadings. So I would say that it's not specific to litigation, but there's a lot of the corporate culture is there within this department. So that gives me a lot of insight. A lot, yeah.
Okay. And your highlights so far?
Sure. My highlights. There's been so many. I think for me, in all honesty, COVID has deprived a lot of candidate attorneys of the opportunity in meeting with counsel. And for me personally, the people who have driven me in the most beautiful way has been senior counsel, junior counsel. When you meet with them, the way in which they inspire you, building a friendship or relationship, some of them asking you, will you come over to my home? Will you meet my wife? When you deliver a brief, and that's what people don't understand. When you deliver a document at your counsel's home, you have to be strategic about it. And I learned very quickly that many a times you would meet with, maybe it's the helper or the daughter or the son, who's going to take the brief and give it to counsel. And I would say, I actually insisted, I would like to give this brief to counsel in their hands. And when you meet them and they see your face and they see the excitement and they see the way in which you're driven, it creates a different kind of perspective on how you see the profession and how they relate to you.
Yeah.
They're human. As much as they're senior counsel, they're human.
Yeah.
So that's been one of my highlights.
Yeah, true. The relationship part is so important because
Absolutely.
then the point here is that we're not only just working or being people in a certain field, but we're creating relationships, future relationships,
And it's a full-on relationship. In guidance, the way in which they inspire you, in terms of even your principal. I think my highlights with my principal, just working with them, there's different kinds of personalities that you engage with. And learning that has been the toughest, but the greatest experience that I've had. It's been challenging. It's still challenging, but it's good.
Sure. Friend, I think you raise a very important point about learning how to treat people.
Yes.
And learning their personalities. I think that, guys, that is so challenging in the workspace, honestly.
Absolutely.
I think you get to see what moves a certain person and what doesn't. And then also you learning how to respond to people in their different personalities. I think the response is an important thing.
It's everything. I think it's everything. My dad likes to say, and I make reference to my parents a lot when I speak, meet people where they're at. That's been a tough thing to do, but it's so necessary. I mean, one moment you come into work, you do your job, let's say you got an instruction wrong, and you're scolded at, and you don't understand why. You would hope that in that moment you would be taught in a certain way, but people have different teaching styles. And to learn that somebody wants perfection maybe in the first initial draft, and from that they're going to say, okay, how can I teach you from your best effort, not from your half effort, from your best effort, how can I teach you? Others are like, okay, clearly you don't know what you're doing. Let me teach you step by step. So I think I've had the privilege of having both kinds of principles in my life, and both of them continue to teach me even till this day, in my personal life, actually.
Yeah.
Those teachings are so important, to meet people where they're at, to leave your personal engagements at the door, come into the office, and it's time to work.
So I think just a note for candidates, just a note for candidates to just understand the different personalities in the workspace. And another thing, I think, not taking offense in the way people present themselves. That for me has been a challenge. But yeah. What do you think, Kamu?
I think it's the most beautiful challenge to embrace, and to take every moment of offense as a teaching moment, to change that around. Not everything that happens to you, not everything that is said to you is about you. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know how you don't know the mindset that they come from. So when somebody says, "What you are so inefficient today," maybe it's your behavior, it's not who you are. And people don't understand that if I can give you an instruction today and you did it wrongly, tomorrow I come back as a principal and I give you an instruction, it means that what you did there was wrong, but you still have the capacity to do other work. So continue with that. I'm going to challenge you in different ways, and people don't see it that way. You get offended, the next day you're still sad, you're wasting your energy, I think, personally.
Friend, I think you hit on a question that I had was, the workspace affects your self-esteem.
Yes.
And that is because of how you actually receive criticism. If you make it a more of in a way that you question your ability to do something,
Yes.
instead of actually recognizing that this was just somebody saying something. It's not me.
It's not you, not at all. It's not your identity.
It's not your identity.
It's not.
So I wanted to find out, how have you been able to maintain your self-esteem throughout as a candidate attorney and now to an admitted attorney?
I'll be honest with you. I think I have been given the privilege of being in a home where I was told before I left the door I was intelligent. So the moment I walked into a space where this is the first time you're meeting me, you don't know anything about my life, you give me an instruction and it's not good enough, that doesn't mean as a person I'm not good enough. Because I think it's important to know who holds authority in your life, the opinions that hold authority. And for me, I knew that my parents said I was intelligent. So if you say I'm not intelligent, thank you. It's okay, but I know for me, I'm intelligent. And I'll come back the next day and try again. I'm not trying to get your validation. It's not about that, because I know who holds authority in my life. And it's important to know that. And a lot of people don't know that. Because they don't have the opportunity. You come into a space where maybe your parents are not educated. You come into a space where everyone around you is educated. You automatically look up to them. So for me, it was different because everything I'm seeing around me, I've seen at home. So it's not the first time somebody is saying this is wrong. My parents have said, Kamogelo, you didn't wash the dishes properly. It's wrong. So see it from that mindset, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful. That is so beautiful to be reminded who has authority over your identity, and who has spoken over you, like God has spoken over you, which is like so important for me. And then also you've been affirmed throughout your entire life. Your parents have been affirming you. So by the time somebody comes and says something that does not align with who you are able to identify it.
That's it.
Yeah, and I think, we get to a point where if you don't know who you are, somebody can come and say something to you and you make it a part of yourself. And you're not supposed to make a home for certain things, even things that come from the workspace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, friend. So articles. We know, guys, go rough. Honestly, it's so rough financially, firstly.
Yes. Oh my word.
And then there's
us.
board exams.
Yes.
And then there's you having to pitch while preparing for boards.
Yes.
And then there's this new arena you're entering, the workspace.
Oh.
Friend, how were articles for you?
Articles, the toughest journey of my life. Really, it was. And it was tough because you recognize the different roles that you're playing. You come out of university, maybe you were at res or you weren't. But for me, I was at res and I had a lot of time to myself. Now I come home, I have to be a child at home. My parents are very strict. There's certain times when you dish up. You must be home at certain times to dish up. At work, you're professional. You have to switch in your personality. At home, again, you're a sister, you're a sibling. You have to make time for yourself. You want to gym. You want to live your best life. There's so many different personalities that you go through in your mind. And that's what makes it tough. I think it would have been much easier if I went home without having to do chores. Honestly, it would have been much, but that is the life of many young candidate attorneys. You'll never stop doing chores at home. As hard as it may be, it's important. It gives you that sense of discipline. Yeah. But board exams, articles, the best experience, but the hardest. Yes, the best. I wouldn't change it or trade it for anything. No.
Okay, all right.
Not at all.
Okay, so you've grown throughout the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's a lot.
All right. I'm just going to highlight that, guys, financially, I always emphasize support.
Yes.
I think also your ability to survive that space, is based on the support that you have around you, like having a family that understands you financially, the work, the pressure you're under at work, and the hours that you must work. So I think you need that support.
So
Yeah.
important. I think just to touch on that in terms of financially, I learned with my sister that it's very important to disclose your salary to your parents so that in the event that there's an expectation that just because you're working and there's so many you earn so much, maybe there's that expectation that because you're working you earn so much, you can do so many things. But the moment your parents know, your sister knows, those who may want things from you, when they know how much you earn, my darling, it's so much easier. For me, it was much easier, honestly.
I think it's so interesting. Like people think you graduate with an LLB degree and then you posh is coming through and you're rich. And guys, I feel like that has been the hardest part of my life. Like guys, like varsity was so smooth. Yeah, it was so smooth. And then post varsity, it was just too much.
I think and it continues to be like that. It continues to be like that, but just knowing how to manage your funds. I think for me, it was different because my parents allowed me do what you want with your money because it's not that much. When you earn as much as you would like to, then let's talk. But yeah.
So I have an important question. All of these questions are important, guys, but this one is interesting. I think the one thing I wanted to ask was asserting your uniqueness and individuality, because we mustn't forget that you go into a workspace and you are kamu and you are bubbly and you like coffee and you like flowers and you like color, and then you go into this profession where you must wear black and white all the time and you must have a certain posture. So tell me, how do you and then there's this thing about us being surrounded by men and you still want to stand out in those spaces, as a feminine woman.
That's true.
So how have you been able to assert your space and uniqueness?
Oof, that's a good question. I will start by saying this. My first 2 weeks of articles, I was approached by a colleague, and the colleague said to me, Kamogelo, I've noticed that you smile a lot. You smile all the time. Stop it. Shoo!
Shucks, man.
It took me in a different way. I literally, they called me into the office, and it changed my trajectory. Not trajectory, it changed my perspective on how I viewed the profession at that moment. And again, it was a teachable moment for me to say, am I going to take this to heart? This is how God made me. I have this smile. I can't just stop smiling. And you realize that sometimes you are put into certain spaces literally to be the light, wherein it's not a norm that every day people are smiling. Now comes somebody, you give me an instruction, thank you. You scold me, thank you. I will learn from it. That is how I was. And I continue to be. If you're somebody who's going, I pick my battles, I don't see why I need to fight you as my senior who's trying to teach me something.
Sure.
Even if the manner in which you're doing it, I don't agree with. It is an opportunity for me to learn that, okay, going forward, I won't treat other people like this. Maybe that's how you treat people, that's fine, but I won't hold it against you. I don't think it's my duty to teach you how to treat people. No. I think I will teach you how to treat people based on how I receive you and how I go about my way. But I didn't come here just to teach you how to treat people. No.
Wow.
I don't think so.
Shucks.
But in terms of affirming my identity, again, it's the family I come from. And my parents are very quick in picking up, Kamogelo, you're not okay today.
Sure.
Sure. And just to reaffirm my smile that it's not by mistake that you are a bubbly person. It's not by mistake that God made you this way. Continue to be the light. Continue to penetrate those spaces and be who you are. Yeah. It's very hard to be someone else. And you realize that very quickly. It's very hard not to be yourself. No.
Yeah, you cannot sell what you aren't.
It's absolutely.
Yeah. And I think when you said that, actually, I'm shocked, friend. Like somebody was like, "Don't smile."
Stop it.
And I'm just, what? Okay. Anyway, I remember so many moments when people would be like, "You are going to study law. What kind of lawyer are you going to become? You're so nice." And then, guys, I was so confused. And at the time, it really affected because you need to be aggressive. This is what we've watched on TV. And then I go into the space that is very hectic in a sense,
true.
and it's very male dominated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The environmental space, and I've seen how my bosses have allowed me to be myself.
So
They have
beautiful.
not asked me to stop smiling or shrink
Yes.
myself, and I think that's important.
Absolutely.
That your principals, your bosses, actually allow you to be
Yourself.
But also, I think the affirmation that you don't need to be aggressive
No.
to be impactful or to be a great
Absolutely.
attorney or to be a great advocate. Guys, it's about the law. It's about reading the law.
It really is.
Yeah, you become
Absolutely.
great at what you do, in terms of preparation, opportunities, and all of that. It's not about your tone, Yeah.
To pick, and that's why I say to pick your battles. I think the concept of being aggressive, depending on the circumstance, is necessary. I think anyone has the ability to say, no, this is not okay, or to assert yourself in a certain position, a certain matter. It's not that easy, and it takes training. You learn how to find your voice in the profession. You don't just come in. For me, I didn't just come in and be like, okay, this is what the matter's about. I had to learn and be trained on that. And even in being surrounded by males, because it is a male-dominated industry, I think I might have my own views on this. I've never felt intimidated. I think it's a beautiful thing that I might be the only woman in the room. And I get to say something because I don't come representing myself. I come representing a lot of other women. And I hope that after me, other women will come in. It's unfortunate that sometimes in a room you're the only woman. It really is. But that doesn't mean that now you must withdraw yourself. Not at all.
Every nation's so good, Kamo. Okay, another important thing is the size of the firm. When we left school, everyone is like, Big Five.
Yes.
In order to become great, you need to make it to the Big Five. And I think if you didn't make it then, like you didn't get like an interview there or an offer there was a bit of a hold back or like...
You were scared.
What's
going to happen?
Yeah, like shame, or you were not going to show off as much.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
So can we talk about that? Like, what do you think of that?
I think it's sad that the focus is just maybe on the big 5 law firms. If you don't get in, there's no future for you. That's an absolute lie. I think it depends on what you want to do. If you're somebody, let's say, who's into wills and estates, you want to go into divorce. There are not a lot of, in my opinion, firms other than small to medium who really concentrate solely on wills and estates and divorce, and in such a way that it gives you so much exposure to it.
Shucks.
So I think depending on the profession that you want to go into, and what you want to gain out of it, what you want to gain out of articles, if it is that I want to be exposed, in my personal view, a small to medium, even a small, working directly with your director is so important. I think that's a huge thing. So for me, I would really encourage that it's not true that at small to medium firms you don't get exposure. If anything, you get handed a file. They say this is a brief, go brief counsel.
Okay.
It's scary, but it's great.
Yeah.
It's scary, but it's great.
Yeah, I'm glad we actually addressed this.
It's important, yes.
Yeah, exposure is important. Okay, friend. How are you juggling business and work? Like, I am totally inspired because you're running an entire business and still be able to do this. After work, all I want to do is sleep.
Yes.
So how are you doing it?
I think it always depends on your motivation and what drives you. So for me, because it is my baby, I think it's important that I take care and I nurture it. Some nurturing takes time. It really does take time. And on the weekends, you just want to sleep, but you can't. What actually, I think for me, what people don't know is that I took a month off for leave this year. Entire month off because I was exhausted. And thankfully, my principal was like, "Come on, go and come back." Sure. Really. Yeah. And I wish I had used it better, that time better, because I focused so much on my baby chosen for you. Whereas the reality is I needed a break from work. I should have rested, but I found it that, okay, now it's time to push, push, push. So it's difficult, but when you want something and when you see a bigger vision, I think that's important. It keeps you going. It's worth it. You make time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And how are you finding the LLM journey?
Ooh.
Yes, Master of Laws.
Ooh, I wish, let me be honest, going to school full time for 5 years, even longer actually, since primary school, high school, varsity, you're full time all the time. And now with what's happening with COVID, it's online. My master's is online. It's a different kind of teaching style. It's literally self-learning. And there's a difference in varsity when you go to lectures maybe once or twice and you study by yourself. I don't know what it is, but it's so different learning new content on your own. And yes, you can send an email, but it's not like I can knock on your door and I can literally go there and say. So I think for me, it's been a tough one, but I wanted it so badly. So it's also exciting.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
exciting.
I'm so proud of you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, we're almost done, friend. We're almost done. So, would you pursue advocacy?
Absolutely.
Why?
Why? I was about to say something. I might give away my tips. I think it's a brilliant strategy, especially when you start out as an attorney. I think when you look at the concept of retirement and living a life where you want to dictate your future, going into advocacy seems, in my view, like a good decision later. So for now, I would exploit being an attorney, but I would definitely love to convert and be an advocate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
To be senior counsel one day.
Yeah, the keyword being exploit. So
Yes.
make the most of the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. You must. You must want. And I think I don't. How do I put this? I don't look down on people who don't want that for themselves. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if you don't want to go and be an advocate, if you don't want to be a judge, if you don't want to be senior counsel, it's your life. It's how you see yourself in the profession. But exposure does a lot. Yeah.
Friend, thank you. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you for
Would
having
you like
me.
to leave a message for our viewers?
Oh, what can I say? There is something actually. We spoke about authority. So, in terms of authority, know who holds authority in your life and the last say in your life. And the last thing I would say is never afford your ignorance the opportunity to deny you teachable moments, especially in the profession. That's what I can say.
So deep. Thanks, Kamu, for being here. From our conversations, our conversation, there's so many things that were a highlight to me. I think the authority one was very important in terms of identity, knowing who you are, and coming into the space that is so challenging and constantly reminding yourself of how worthy you are and how deserving you are, and being teachable. Another thing was about you being teachable. Gamo also emphasized a lot about you exploiting the environment to milk as much as you can, milk as much information as you can. And I think another thing was about how you actually assert yourself, that you can't sell what you aren't, in terms of own your individuality, own your uniqueness. You know, it's so easy to just get in and blend, you know, and wear your dark colors and be that typical lawyer when the space actually needs your authenticity, your smile, your energy. And we've seen her speak about her area of practice, and I hope it inspired somebody who wants to get into corporate commercial. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Goodbye.